What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. As many of you may or may not know, in the past I've covered a lot of content related to just future generations in Pokemon Go. We've taken a look at Generation 5, looking at the legendary Pokemon, mythical Pokemon, non-legendary Pokemon, just to see what is around the corner. Well, recently, GoHub actually released an article talking about the top non-legendary Pokemon that have some major potential in Pokemon Go, and they went a step further than what I ever did on a past video, so I wanted to go ahead and cover this and then give my opinion. We'll be taking a look at some ideal movesets, what could be the best case scenario for these Pokemon, and then I'm also going to just put them in a list on which ones I think are going to reach their maximum potential, or at least have the best chance of hitting it, getting a good move set, going to take over maybe a #1 spot in some cases. Definitely excited about this episode. Hopefully you're going to enjoy it as well. But if you do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Let's go ahead and start this list off right. The first Pokemon that we will be talking about is considered to be a fan favorite from Generation 5, and that is VOLCARONA. VOLCARONA is unique because it is a dual typing of the bug/fire typing. Taking a look at it from a statistical perspective, you will see that its attack stat is its best feature. It also has an overall ranking of 21st in Pokemon Go. Now, these rankings are just established by taking the Pokemon stats as if they were put into the game right now. It does not include other Generation 5 Pokemon. So there's a couple of them that would get put in, like some legendaries and stuff. So VOLCARONA would shift down a little bit. I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. This is just meant to kind of give you a heads up as to how good it could be. But let's talk about it. From the bug typing, if you go up against some that are currently made available, you will see that it has the highest DPS among some of the favorites, as well as the highest TDO out of all of them as well. And whenever you have a combination of the highest DPS and then TDO as well, that's destined to be successful. Of course, on the moveset, we ended up going with Bug Bite and Bug Buzz. I do think that VOLCARONA has a little bit of wiggle room just in case Niantic does not give it the most ideal moveset from the bug typing. I think it could still end up holding on to that #1 spot unless something super weird happens, like we just don't get a bug type quick move or something like that. But we're definitely going to be crossing our fingers and hoping that that doesn't happen. Moving over to the fire side, I think there's going to be a lot of competition in this case, but as you can see, they've got quite a bit of Pokemon to just take into consideration, as well as some future Generation 5 Pokemon like Reshiram. Reshiram is going to be an absolute beast, very difficult to take down. But taking a look at some of the other options, I mean, technically it does outperform something like a Moltres slightly, so we are just going to have to see exactly how this works out. We have seen a couple of overpowered Pokemon do very well from two different typings, such as Roserade, for example, with the #1 from the grass typing as well as #1 from the poison typing. VOLCARONA could end up being that type of Pokemon. The next Pokemon on this list, not gonna lie, is going to hurt a little bit because it will potentially take down one of my favorite Pokemon in this game. And the Pokemon that we will be talking about is CONKELDURR. So CONKELDURR is a pure fighting type Pokemon, and taking a look at its stats, you are going to see, wow, it is an incredible Pokemon. A very good stamina stat, a very good attack stat, an overall ranking, a potential ranking of 38th in Pokemon Go. And we all know that it could come to an end. I'm talking about Machamp. Machamp has just been solid the entire time in Pokemon Go. It has never let us down. Even when we had some type of competition versus something like a Breloom, it still managed to stay up at that #1 position. But CONKELDURR could end up taking it over. Take a look at these stats. If it ends up getting the moveset of Counter and Dynamic Punch, as you can see, all of them having the same thing. We're taking a look at the DPS, which is technically a little bit lower than Breloom, but that is expected. But then when you take a look at that TDO, it makes up for it in that case, where it's even able to take out or take over something like a Hariyama. This is going to end up being a really good balance. Machamp is super good. It's very well balanced versus other fighting type Pokemon. And then you have something like Hariyama, which is a little bit denser. And then something like a Breloom, which is a glass cannon. I think CONKELDURR is going to be the better version of all of them in this case. as long as it gets the ideal move set. This is something that's going to be an exciting thing, right? It's going to potentially be better, but at the same time though, there's just a lot of sadness, a lot of emotion going on with it, just because it could finally end Machamp's reign, which I personally think has been one of the longest ones that we have seen in Pokemon Go. The next Pokemon that we are going to cover is going to be a fun one, and that is Chandelure. So Chandelure is a dual type Pokemon that is Ghost as well as the Fire typing. When we take a look at it from a statistical perspective, you will see that its best stat is its attack stat at 271, ranked at 13th. Yeah, you may want to skip out on that stamina stat. That is really bad. However, it does manage to get an overall ranking of 86th if it were to be put into Pokemon Go at this time. So we have this Pokemon that is just the pure definition of a glass cannon. It can throw out the punches, it has a very high attack stat, but it's not going to be able to last very long. But regardless of that, if we take a look at it from the Ghost typing, you will see that it is still going to get beat by Giratina Origin Form, but that's not going to be that big of a deal considering it is a legendary Pokemon. It does, however, outpace Gengar from the DPS perspective as well as the TDO, so that is going to be interesting. I think Gengar's kind of held on to that #1 non-legendary Ghost type attacker. I think Chandelure is definitely going to challenge it. Will it take over #1? I mean, you're talking about going up against a Mewtwo with Shadow Ball, going up against a Giratina Origin Form. There's a lot of competition from that legendary perspective, but I still think the Chandelure is going to be a fun non-legendary option. Let's go ahead and take a look at it from the Fire typing. As you can see, it is still going to be outpaced by Moltres, once again falling into that similar situation where the legendary Pokemon are most likely going to be the ones to outperform this particular Pokemon, which is why I decided to put it a little bit lower on the list, or in this case, in the middle of the list. We talked about Pokemon that I think are going to do really great. Chandelure is just a little bit up in the air. Who knows? Maybe we'll get some type of rework on the stamina and it could end up changing, but for now, I'm not sure exactly how good it's going to do. This next Pokemon is definitely going to be a fun one, and it is known as Archeops. So Archeops is a dual type Pokemon of Rock as well as the Flying type. Taking a look at it from a statistical standpoint, oh man, that attack stat is insane at 292. Yeah, that is absolutely insane. There's going to be a little bit of a catch to this, however. When you're talking about a Pokemon like this and having an attack stat like that, you might be saying, dude, what are you doing, man? Why would you put this 4th on the list? It has an incredible attack stat, and even if you were to take a look at it from the DPS TDO perspective, you can bet it is going to do very well, but there is a little bit of a catch, and that is going to be related to the ability of this Pokemon. I would say that it is a very similar situation to a Pokemon like Slacking in Pokemon Go, where Pokemon Go ended up giving it a move that just did 0 damage of Yawn. I think that the same thing is going to happen with Archeops as well. I think it's just kind of in the cards, which is why I pushed it down to the #4 spot. But if you are curious, if we take a look at it from the Rock typing, you will see that it is a fairly good option. I mean, check this out. We're talking about options like Rampardos. It is able to outperform it from that DPS and TDO perspective. Of course, if it gets Rock Throw and Rock Slide, which is very interesting in this case. And then taking a look at it from the Flying typing, we're going to have a lot of competition from those legendary Pokemon. But when you take a look at it from the list, you're seeing that the only 2 options taking it down would be Rayquaza and Moltres if it were to get Wing Attack as well as Sky Attack. But that DPS is absolutely insane in that case. So I just want to say that this Pokemon is one of those Pokemon that has a major potential that will honestly probably not ever be unleashed. It's going to be a really cool kind of fun Pokemon, but I just worry it's going to fall into Slacking territory. Moving into the last and final Pokemon in today's episode is a Pokemon known as Excadrill. So Excadrill is a dual type of the Ground typing as well as the Steel typing. Taking a look at its stats, it is very good from the stamina / attack perspective, but it is severely lacking from that defense standpoint, ranked at 332nd, but it does maintain an overall ranking of 64th in Pokemon Go, which is definitely good for a non-legendary Pokemon. When we look at a Pokemon like this though, from the Steel typing, it's pretty much got no chance versus something like a Metagross. However, from the Ground typing, there's at least some viability in this Pokemon, so go ahead and take a look at the list. As you can see, we've got some very solid options versus something like a Groudon, a Garchomp, but it's kind of hanging in there a little bit, but at the same time, it's just not quite able to compete with it. In some cases, it has a slightly higher DPS, but all in all, when you take a look at that TDO, it is definitely lacking, to say the least. So I think that this one has some potential to get into like a top 5 for sure, but is it going to be one of those Pokemon that just propels to that #1 spot and the one that everyone absolutely wants to get their hands on? I personally don't think so. But anyways, that just about wraps up the video. I want to know what you think about these Pokemon in the comments section below. What are you most excited about? For me personally, I do think it is Volcarona, but I would love to know what you think in the comments section below. And if you did enjoy it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and I will see you next time. If you want to develop a deeper connection, I would highly recommend you to check out Patreon. We've got a lot of really cool things going on over there. Check out all of these supporters that we have. We are almost up to 100. We are also posting some special content, some behind the scenes work. And if that is the type of thing that interests you, I would highly recommend you to check it out.